Execution by firing squad, in the past sometimes called fusillading, is a method of capital punishment, particularly common in the military and in times of war. Execution by shooting is a fairly old practice. Some reasons for its use are that firearms are usually readily available and a gunshot to a vital organ, such as the brain or heart, most often will kill relatively quickly. A firing squad is normally composed of several military personnel, all of whom are usually instructed to fire simultaneously, thus preventing both disruption of the process by one member and identification of the member who fired the lethal shot. To avoid disfigurement due to multiple shots to the head, the shooters are typically instructed to aim at the heart, sometimes aided by a paper target. The prisoner is typically blindfolded or hooded, as well as restrained, although in some cases prisoners have asked to be allowed to face the firing squad without their eyes covered. Media portrayals have frequently shown the condemned being offered a final cigarette as well. Executions can be carried out with the condemned either standing or sitting. There is a tradition in some jurisdictions that such executions are carried out at first light or at sunrise. This gave rise to the phrase, shot at dawn. Execution by firing squad is distinct from other forms of execution by firearms, such as an execution by shooting to the back of the head or neck. However, the single shot by the squad's officer with a pistol is sometimes incorporated in a firing squad execution, particularly if the initial volley turns out not to be immediately fatal. Before the introduction of firearms, bows or crossbows were often used. Saint Sebastian is usually depicted as executed by a squad of Roman auxiliary archers in around AD 288. King Edmund the Martyr of East Anglia, by some accounts, was tied to a tree and executed by Viking archers on the 20th of November 869 or 870. The method is often the supreme punishment or disciplinary means employed by military courts for crimes such as cowardice, desertion, espionage, murder, mutiny, or treason. If the condemned prisoner is an ex-officer who is acknowledged to have shown bravery throughout their career, they may be afforded the privilege of giving the order to fire. An example of this is Marshal of France Michel Ney, as a means of insulting the condemned. However, past executions have had them shot in the back, denied blindfolds, or even tied to chairs. When Galeazzo Ciano, son-in-law of Benito Mussolini, and several other former fascists who voted to remove him from power were executed, they were tied to chairs facing away from their executioners. By some reports, Ciano managed to twist his chair around at the last second to face them. Sometimes, one or more members of the firing squad may be issued a weapon containing a blank cartridge. In such cases, members of the firing squad are not told beforehand whether they are using live ammunition. This is believed to reinforce the sense of diffusion of responsibility among the firing squad members. Trained soldiers know the difference between a blank round and a ball round. The blank round, when fired, has no recoil at all, whereas a ball round will produce significant recoil. This is especially significant when bolt-action rifles are employed. This diffusion of responsibility makes the execution process more reliable because the members are more likely to aim to kill if they are not entirely blamed for it, or if there is a chance they did not fire the lethal shot. It also allows each member of the firing squad to believe afterwards that he did or did not personally fire a fatal shot. For this reason, it is sometimes referred to as the conscience round. According to Private W. E. Quinton, who served in the British Army during the First World War and had the experience of serving with a firing squad in October 1915, he and 11 colleagues were relieved of any live ammunition and their own rifles before being issued replacement weapons. The firing squad was then given a short speech by an officer before they fired a volley at the condemned man. He said about the episode, "I had the satisfaction of knowing that as soon as I fired the absence of any recoil that I had merely fired a blank cartridge." In more recent times, such as in the execution of Ronnie Lee Gardner in the American state of Utah in 2010, One rifleman may be given a dummy cartridge containing a wax bullet instead of a lead bullet, which provides a more realistic recoil. On 12 October 1915, a British nurse, Edith Cavell, was executed by a German firing squad at the Tir National Shooting Range at Schaerbeek after being convicted of conveying troops to the enemy during the First World War. On 1 April 1916, a Belgian woman, Gabrielle Petit, was executed by a German firing squad at Schaerbeek after being convicted of spying for the British Secret Service during World War I. During the Battle of the Bulge in World War II, 3